Why obtain a Kenyan real estate advocate? Introduction. The pursuit of owning property is perhaps one of my most fundamental aspirations. I, too, often found myself navigating through extremely problematic areas disguised as opportunity. The Kenyan real estate market is not much different than markets in the U.S. Home ownership and investment prosperity coexist with legal complexities that can transform noble and ambitious aspirations into nightmares. As I reflect on the critical role that my conveyance advocate played in this ecosystem, I am struck by a profound truth. In my eagerness to secure property, I was tempted to overlook the obvious. Thankfully, my experiences in buying and selling property taught me very well that legal representation is critical and cannot be avoided, especially in the new country 9,000 miles from the U.S. It is not even a question whether or not to obtain a conveyance advocate. It is absolutely necessary, and finding one is a mission in itself. The invisible architecture of property rights. As I reflect on my journey in purchasing property in Kenya, I am reminded that purchasing property gives me an opportunity to advance monetarily and also socially. I will be significantly reducing my cost of living by lowering the largest expenditure of my household budget. This stabilizes my future and gives me great peace in knowing that as I go through my golden years, I do not have to worry about income. I also benefit by becoming a part of a community as I purchased my home in a very affluent gated community. I will be a stakeholder in a neighborhood, and this builds more opportunities to network, make friends, and possibly even extended family. I also understand that the legalities provide benefit and responsibility. It is not enough to simply want to own property. I understand the legal ecosystem that makes ownership possible and secure. My conveyance advocate served as both translator and guardian, as I needed support for the legal complexities and language. When I consider the meticulous process of title verification and due diligence, I am grateful to have such a brilliant advocate. She guided me literally line by line through the contract of sale and explained in plain language all that it entailed and what concerns needed to be addressed. She even explained her role in investigating chains of title, examining encumbrances, and confirming boundaries that transformed abstract legal concepts into tangible protection for my new home in my new country. The human cost of legal ignorance. The most common phrase that I heard or read about purchasing property in Kenya was due diligence. Without properly performing this complex and somewhat vague task, you will fail. It's really that simple. There are too many points of failure to address in this short narrative, but to keep it simple, get a conveyance advocate. First of all, as a foreigner, how am I supposed to be able to read a legal document from a different language? I am from the U.S., and even though one of the national languages is English, it is not the same English that we speak in the U.S. Very similar, but still not the same. Kenyan legalize is from British English and follows a lot of British law. This alone is why, as a foreigner, it is necessary to have an advocate. I remember reading through the contracts, and when my advocate went through it with me, I was thinking, thank God for her. This could have been financially devastating, as the contract was so one-sided that I could have lost over $147,000 easily, simply due to weather or other natural disaster beyond my control, plus all kinds of slick terms and obligations that protected the seller and held me, the buyer, responsible. Needless to say, I did not buy that particular property. Do you want to spend your time and money dealing with what happens when property transactions proceed without adequate legal protection? Lengthy legal disputes, complete loss of investment, years of expensive litigation, etc. It is not just a statistic when it happens to you. The courts are full of people fighting disputes. Don't let this happen to you. Behind each failed transaction lies a story of misplaced trust, overlooked details, and the crushing weight of legal consequences that extend far beyond financial loss. The prevalence of property fraud in Kenya's market serves as a harsh reminder of how criminal exploitation thrives in environments where legal ignorance meets financial vulnerability. Fake titles, forged documents, and impersonation schemes represent more than criminal activity. They reveal the sophisticated ways in which trust can be weaponized against the unwary. This reality begs to confront an uncomfortable question. In our desire to save money on legal fees, do we inadvertently expose ourselves to losses that dwarf those very costs? The irony is stark. The attempt to save a dollar on professional legal services often leads to expenses that are greater than the fees we wanted to avoid. The professional as guardian. The role of a conveyance advocate extends beyond mere technical expertise to encompass something more fundamental: professional accountability in an environment where individual buyers and sellers are uniquely vulnerable. The advocate's professional indemnity insurance, relationships with government offices, and understanding of evolving regulations create a protective buffer between clients and the myriad ways property transactions can go wrong. This professional relationship represents a form of risk redistribution that is often undervalued until it is desperately needed. The advocate assumes professional responsibility for navigating legal complexities, identifying potential fraud, and ensuring regulatory compliance, responsibilities that would otherwise fall entirely on parties who lack the expertise to manage them effectively. Reflecting on this dynamic, I realize that engaging a conveyance advocate is not merely purchasing a service, but entering into a partnership where professional expertise is deployed to protect personal interests. The advocate becomes a professional ally in what can otherwise be an isolating and overwhelming process. The economics of protection. The economic argument for legal representation in property transactions reveals a deeper truth about the nature of risk and investment. The relatively modest cost of professional legal services compared to potential financial losses represents more than a cost-benefit analysis. It embodies a fundamental principle of prudent financial management. This economic reality challenges us to think more sophisticatedly about the relationship between cost and value. The fee paid to a conveyance advocate is not an expense but an investment in risk mitigation, legal protection, and peace of mind. It represents the purchase of expertise that cannot be easily acquired through other means and protection that cannot be effectively self-provided. The transformation of what could be a perilous financial gamble into a properly structured and legally protected investment captures the essence of what professional legal representation achieves. It converts uncertainty into security, vulnerability into protection, and risk into managed opportunity. Conclusion. As I conclude on the role of conveyance advocates in Kenyan real estate, I am left with a profound appreciation for the intricate web of legal, professional, and economic relationships that make secure property ownership possible. The advocate emerges not as a luxury for the wealthy, but as an essential partner for anyone serious about protecting their property investment. The central insight that emerges from this reflection is that property ownership in a complex legal environment is inherently a collaborative endeavor. It requires not just individual desire and financial resources, but professional expertise, legal knowledge, and institutional support. The conveyance advocate serves as the crucial link connecting individual aspirations with legal realities, personal dreams with professional protection. Perhaps most importantly, this reflection challenges us to reconsider our relationship with professional expertise in high-stakes financial decisions. The question whether you can afford to hire a conveyance advocate reframes the entire discussion, suggesting that the real question is not about affording professional help, but about affording the consequences of proceeding without it. In Kenya's challenging property market, as in many complex financial environments, the wisdom lies not in avoiding professional costs, but in understanding their value. The conveyance advocate represents more than legal expertise. They embody the principle that in our most important financial decisions, professional guidance is not an optional luxury, but an essential foundation for success. The partnership between property investor and legal advocate thus becomes a metaphor for a broader truth, that in our interconnected and legally complex world, individual success increasingly depends on our ability to recognize when we need professional guidance and our wisdom in securing it. In this light, the conveyance advocate becomes not just a legal professional, but a guardian of dreams, a protector of investments, and a bridge between aspiration and achievement.